I look at my opponent for round 10 and I freak out just a little bit.
Why? Who was your opponent?
So Clyde on TCG on the Bandai app, it's Clyde. But if you guys know him,
gosh,
it's Jackson Wong from the Last Nats, who won the Last Nats with BY Luffy.
So you went against two national winners, back to back
in the same
not back to back,
in the same tournament.
Yeah. Alright, welcome everyone. Today I have the pleasure of interviewing a dear friend of mine. He recently placed 14th in the CARTA MAGICKA regionals, and he had a really tough matchup spread, but he pulled through. And yeah, so you can go ahead and introduce yourself, maybe tell a little bit about yourself, your hobbies, and we'll go on to the next question after that.
Sounds good. Thank you for having me, Alex. My name is EMMANUEL Reyes. I play One Piece. I've been playing since the beginning, but I took it more casually, so I played a lot of off-meta decks. One of my favorite decks is still Magellan. Will it ever make a comeback? Probably not. But only this year I started taking games a little more seriously, where I was practicing different lines, different matchups, and it finally paid off because my goal going into this tournament was to get 8-2. Ideally, because all my last tournaments, I've played a lot of Reiju, Sakazuki. I would always bubble out at 7-3. Highest placing being around 98 or something like that.
Yeah.
Around that. And I'm like, okay, goal, 8-2. One less loss, please. And I did a lot of time with Black Yellow Luffy, which is the deck we'll be going over. And it's a hard deck, but I think just from repetition and trying to gain more knowledge on how to play the deck throughout different matchups, I felt more comfortable going into this tournament because I played in a core TCG in the beginning of the month, and I just lost even to Lucci, and I'm like, this is hard. Like, it's not, you used to can lose to matchups that you should be favorable into.
Yeah.
But overall, I like playing the game. I made a lot of good friends playing it, and it was great to see a good showing because I had so many matches this tournament that kind of showed me no matter who you're playing, as long as you do your best, you can really perform.
Yeah, and YouTube community, E-Man really did put in the hours. There'd be, we play in the same locals, and there'd be times where instead of competing in the local tournament, I would just see E-Man grinding certain tough matchups and just learning the deck in and out. And so he really did put in the hours, the time, and I'm so glad to see it bearing fruit in this regionals, man. And so, real quick, who's your favorite One Piece character, though?
So everyone knows me as like the Robin guy. I really like Nico Robin throughout most of my time getting into One Piece, but Ace was always up there. So I can't really pick one, but if you had to pick top three for me at the moment, it's like Robin, Luffy, Ace. Those are the big three for me. Just simple notion that Luffy may be like main character energy, and he has a lot of simple notion to him, but he's all about just like be free and like enjoy your life and make good memories, have good friends, and have a good time. That's really the best way to describe it.
That's why he's my favorite character too.
That's why I played the deck, honestly, in a weird way.
Yeah. All right, so we're gonna go into the deck profile now. We're good to go. So E-Man representing the ADAKAI mat, which I'm very, very honored that you're using that. But yeah, let's get into the deck profile. So you can just give us a lowdown, your thoughts on the deck, and why you made the certain tech choices you did. We'll start there.
I would say overall, I tried to do a lot of different techs with BUI. Like prior to today, let's rep your leader. Actually, there we go.
Ooh.
So prior to today, I had Ace in my deck. I had 5-cost KO Sabo, but eventually through more repetition and testing, I just eventually cut them and went back to like a nitty-gritty control type. Ironically, it actually came in handy against two green matchups we'll be talking about. So to start it off, I mean, I feel like everyone's seen this deck list at this point, just because it's so predominant in the current meta. But you have your usual Garb searchers.
Are you able to flip the cards
upside
down?
I got you.
Perfect.
I'm bad at this. Sorry.
All good.
I'll do the Garb for the search, and only 2 of the Three Brothers Bond.
Oh, only 2 events.
The reason why is because I whiff the Morias with these cards.
Oh, okay.
So it's kind of tricky. At least Garp is a body.
Yeah.
So that's always good to have at a 4 of. But then Three Brothers Bond, when it comes down to it, you slowly start to draw into your pieces. I mean, you have 5-cost Sabo to just filter out most of your hands anyway. And then I also run the 4-drop Kuzan, which we'll go over. But when it comes down to it, Garp gets tricky to play early unless you're at certain Dawn ratios. So if you're at 2 to 4 going second, you play the Garp if you know you're going Kuzan, but sometimes you can hold off to just see extra cards. That's kind of theory that's been going around.
Yeah.
So I've been working on that when I look at my optimal play lines throughout the games.
Yeah.
But yeah, Searchers, you need them because you need the Luffys and the Sabos and the babies and the big guys, the fun stuff.
Yeah.
And then we have the cool stuff, the 2Ks. These are what they call your Awakeners.
Yeah.
So we have Hiyori,
4 copies.
Makino at 2, and Flampe at 4.
Gotcha.
So Flampe is probably the best one because you draw 2 with it. You draw 1 from your life, 1 from your deck.
Mm-hmm.
Hiyori lets you set up a 5-cost character into your life.
Yep.
And Makino is just a generic grab your life. And then if you high roll and you see a 5-cost there, if you use it early enough, it's nice. But when you don't, like, okay, at least I'm closer to my awakening.
Gotcha.
Unironically, I didn't play these much.
Oh, really?
I did in the mirrors, but when we go over the matchup spread, I played 6 mirrors. So
wow.
So eventually I did have to use them, but it was more of an attrition game where you're like, okay, do I swing? Do I not swing? And vice versa. It's like a tug of war in the beginning. From like dawn, like from turn 1 to 4 in the mirror, you're just tug of war. It's like, should I swing at him now? If I swing at him now, can I start to... And if he swings at me, can I awaken? Should I awaken? So I didn't actually use these a lot, but when I did have to use them, it was like right at the moment before like a Moria turn or, you know, so you start to get the read on potential ways they can try to take you out before you awaken. It happens. We'll go over that with my last game because that actually happened or came close to happening.
Did you ever get lucky with the Makino, sir?
No. I actually don't think I ever played Makino. 2K counter at most. So that's good there. But these are the ones that really stand out, the Hiyori and the Flampe.
Gotcha.
Makino at 2 is kind of perfect. And then I'm looking to go into Ivankov when I update this again, which is kind of like a Hiyori. But for the most part, Awakeners, they awaken things. Stay woke, guys. But then here's the real engine of the deck that really kicks in, and people hate these cards a lot.
Oh, yeah.
So you have Baby Sabo, regular Sabo, Baby Luffy.
So 4/4.
Yep. And then you have the big boy, what do they call it? Fist Luffy. I call him Shoryuken Luffy. He looks like he's going up. And then
Take Your Own Life Luffy.
Oh,
4 copies of the Eggman Luffy.
And 4 Eggman Luffy.
Or Egghead.
Eggman Luffy. Oh, no. Sorry, Hayden. But, I mean, Sabo, you know, unkillable and helps you filter, protects your board. The babies, sometimes the main draw of these babies is you want to start to hold them in your hand, especially if you don't have a follow-up Moria, and there will be times when you just want to base up with those and have bigger swings into the mirror. Something that I actually really appreciate from some of my games is like evolving throughout, because I played 6 mirrors and I lost 1 of the 6. And I lost 2.
We'll talk about that one.
We'll get into the matchup spread later.
How dare you lose that one matchup?
But Fist Luffy comes in really handy when you need a bigger swing, and obviously you get a chance to take your life, so you start to go into that awakening phase. This Luffy, really great at killing things when you pair it up with some of the next cards we'll be going over. K's a 4-cost or less, draws a card. You can't go wrong with that. Good value. You take one of their cards out, you draw 1 card. And in some niche scenarios, you just play them out, swing with it, use its ability for
extra card draw.
That's all it is. And then you just put it back anyway with your leader ability.
We
didn't actually go over the leader ability, but I think most people know it. Dawn times 2, you know. You add life to your deck. That's yellow, you know, yellow things. But then the next part of the deck is the part that I was like debating about the most prior going into it.
But it seems like it had a lot of payoff from what you were telling me.
Oh yeah, so I mean, 4-drop Kuzan.
Yeah.
You draw a card, really good value. -4 on swing, and paired with the Luffy, you get a chance to kill 8 cost.
Yeah.
So I think in most matchups, you get rid of the really important pieces. I don't think I paired it that way this tournament. I just kind of played Kuzan for the body that was like threatening.
You run it at a 4 of.
Yeah. Free card draw,
Yeah.
and it's a threatening body that people don't like seeing on the board.
Gotcha.
Especially when you have KO potential in your deck. The next one is the other card I debated about for a while because I've gone through different list variants, and as you noticed with the brothers, I don't have Ace. I had Ace originally, but it didn't show much impact, especially in like my mirror testing.
And sorry, before
no, it's okay.
Did you face a Nami too, right?
I did.
Okay, so even like so, I guess you've played that. As I can talk about that, but E-Man is also a really strong Nami player. You didn't think you needed the Ace for that matchup? Like you were able to kind of secure it without it?
I wouldn't say secure it. I just had to play smart and swing for the proper numbers.
Gotcha.
I spent a lot of time during that match, which we'll go over.
In the later part,
just doing math. Let's just say that.
Okay.
Make sure I did the right math numbers.
Yeah.
And then the last card is 10-drop. Oh, well, another piece of the control package is 10-drop Kuzan. I thought about cutting it for Ice Age, but I was still afraid of like the green aspect because I myself also played Bonnie and Carrot.
Yep.
So I'm like, okay, like it can kind of come in niche situations, and I was actually able to play it out in a mirror at one point.
Oh wow!
But they killed it.
Oh, okay.
but it was still like a turn they had to waste.
Yeah.
And then, for the most part, when you get that -5 and a 10-10 on board, it's really strong showing. And the last one is Finger Pistol, because you kill a 5 cost, so in the mirror you're killing Luffy, you're getting a chance to get some cards into your trash that you might need to awaken. And then on trigger is actually where it came in to shine the most, because if you're playing with the mirror and they swing a little more than they want to, and they have a 5 cost Luffy on board, you just kill it for free. And you're closer to your awakening.
Gotcha.
And paired with these cards, so you kill a 9 cost with this card, or you kill a 5, like anything with this card. So it kind of comes in that situation where these two especially. This one not so much, but it
has its applications, right? Like,
exactly.
You can get the 10-drop Dofis and like.
Which I actually did crazy enough. But he was a really we'll talk about that matchup too. And the last one, everyone's favorite hated black card.
Do you even need that card in the deck? I feel like
Moria.
Just kidding.
I mean, I actually tried out BY Luffy before the Moria came out, and it was fun still to play. But without the Moria, you're kind of just doing shenanigans, and you don't have many turns where you establish like a big body. And this is the only big body you truly have. I was actually able to pull these two out of my starter decks. I
was going to say, you already have 2 of the PRB alts?
It was kind of like a calling. Like, hey, you got the Morias. Put them in your BY Luffy deck. So I had just, out of all my starter decks, I picked up 2 of each. I got really fortunate at our locals. He really hooked it up in terms of like his local scene. We were able to get our starter decks pretty efficiently.
Shout out to DEG.
Dragonite Gaming in Paramus, New Jersey. Gecko Moria, I was able to pull 2, and I was like, I guess it's a sign. I gotta put it in. And they said it was allowed because it's still the same card number. And everything worked out. And I never wanted to buy the older alt, so I'm like, I pulled it. It's perfect. And people like new things.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And that's all the deck.
Oh man. All right. Well, we can go and start talking about your matchups now then too. All right, we're live again. So, let's talk about your matchup spread. If you remember them, any key highlights from each one.
So overall, I played 6 mirrors and 4 unique decks. So the mirrors actually was kind of ironic because that's one of the matchups I practiced the most. Shout out to Javi at our locals. He's one of my boys, and if it wasn't for him, I wouldn't have been as comfortable playing the deck. I made a lot of mistakes throughout our time playing, and now it came to fruition where I can correct those mistakes. And then I started off pretty hot. Like I started round 1, Black Yellow Luffy. I'm like, okay, a mirror, expected. So I'm like, all right, just play as usual. I don't remember a lot about this matchup. I'm just being at the first one. I just remember the guy did misplay. I don't remember the exact scenario. He did say at the end, he's like, "Oh, I'm just tired." I'm like, "I get it. It's 11 a.m., but I don't know." It happens.
Round one.
You just have to like take your time, regardless
yeah.
of tired or not. You just take your time, and unless you're taking an ungodly amount of time to take your turn, you can still kind of follow through with a play.
Yep.
So that one was standard as usual. Don't remember his misplay, but I capitalized on it, so made sure I got my better plays out. Round 2 was Carrot. So I've actually played.
Funny because
I actually started 08 playing Carrot for fun, and Carrot actually was more scary than Bonnie to me because of the fact that their Carrot their Carrot leader rests everything.
Rests Sabo, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And their Carrot character just makes everything frozen, so you don't have any attacks if you like play out cards. So unironically, that matchup turned into a Kuzan game where my board state ended with 2 Kuzans on board because he didn't swing at me at all, so I couldn't really do any of my shenanigans to boost my leader up. I actually ended the game with 1 regular life, which was interesting. But shout out to him because I forgot his name, Zarek. His name is. He's from Las Vegas. He's a really nice guy. We were talking a little bit after. And I gave him props for playing Carrot because I didn't have the balls to do that. But he said he lost out to a few Luchis after, so it makes sense. Lucci kind of stops
that's a
that
tough matchup.
Yeah, which is another thing to go into. I didn't run into any Luchis,
which is
okay.
I mean, but that's like would have been probably
better.
yeah. Better than the mirrors, but
I had PTSD because when I played my core TCG regional, I played 3 Luchis and I lost because I didn't get Sabo.
Oh, that'll do it though.
And I couldn't I had awakening moments, but I'm like, he has a Moria on board and I have no blocker. Like, what do I do?
This is tough.
So I couldn't really capitalize on that. The third match, I got another one. I got another BY, and I'm like, okay, just play your game. I don't remember any of the turns I went. I just tried to like be in the moment and really capitalize on like playing well, and that was standard. I wish I could talk more about the BY matches, but they kind of go down to like, who has more Moria, who has more Sabo, or who uses their resource properly. That's the name of the game, resource game with the mirror especially.
And it's hard to remember because you played against 6 of them. So.
6 mirrors, and each one was unique.
Yeah.
I'll say, I think, if I'm not mistaken, in the 3rd mirror, I played out a Tempo Moria. He killed it with Kuz. I think I didn't really prep for it. I was just like, okay, use your resources is what I said. I played a Moria because we had that battle where like no one's attacking each other. So I played a Moria, then I played a 10-drop Kuzan, and then he Ice Age Shigonned it. And I'm like, okay. I played another Moria. Or it was something along the lines of like playing my Awakeners to just get my base up, and then a Moria. So I had the right pieces come at the right time. And playing the 10-drop Kuzana, I'm like, if you don't get rid of this, I will have 10k beater on you. And for the most part, like, because it would have been a follow-up into Sabo, and that would not die. It is not dying if it stays on the board. So
it's just one turn to answer.
Crazy enough, like the card that I wanted to cut the most is the card that saved me in a lot of matchups.
Seems like it though.
And then most people do cut it because like who has time to play 10-drop? Especially nowadays when people are like a little more understanding of how to be aggressive or when to be aggressive. So being aggressive kind of changes when you go to round 4, where I play Nami. And like Alex mentioned earlier, I actually played a lot of Nami in 03-04. And Nami was good. He played everything right. He countered when he needed to. I stopped swinging when I needed to. But I think most people know if you have ace, it helps a lot in that matchup to get more swings in.
But you don't play?
No, I do not play ace, unfortunately. But this guy, I had 2 of them stick on board. And I was able to get out 1 Moria. So this was my board state for most of Nami.
Did you awaken that game? Do you remember?
Yes, I did awaken. Because I kept taking my own life with these. And then I was able to base up to 1 life. So I'd always have like 1 in life. So he can never go 15k swing. Which happens. So be wary of that. Nami can swing. Don't forget that. Like people don't think that. Like, oh wait, Nami is like not attacking me. I'm like, yeah, but it can. Like, so the standard procedure there is going to be this card
Yeah.
because you have the 8K beater, 9K beater.
Yeah.
It's hard to play this out, but you want to get that extra swinger.
Yeah.
Because you're swinging leader, Luffy, Gecko. So you have a good cycle of 8, 8, 9 base.
Yeah.
The scariest part is I was very adamant about making sure I knew what cards left he had in deck.
Mm-hmm.
He was able to recycle Grandma, Neon.
Yeah.
He was able to recycle her like 4 times.
Wow.
So
okay.
he never played Kaya in the beginning, which I was really surprised about. And not in a bad way. It's actually a good thing. You want to see Kaya's later in that matchup.
Yeah.
Or in the matchup. Because then if you have 4 Kayas, that's 8 cards in your deck already. So I was afraid, not going to lie. And I looked at his trash pretty often, so I appreciate him for like being understanding of that. I'm sure he knows it's not me. Knowledge is key.
Yeah.
Knowing what cards they have left in their deck.
Yep, knowing how many Gavels they use, knowing how many like
peel-offs they use.
Yep.
Yeah, and how many Impel Down All-Stars triggers are potentially in their life.
Yeah.
So most of the time, like every other turn, I would always ask like, get a count on like, and you know, people will be stubborn to that fact sometimes because they don't know like what they're looking for.
Yeah.
But having played Nami, I'm like, okay, what are their resources available to them?
Yeah.
The scariest part is when he got to 14. I think it was like 2 life, 14 dark cards in deck.
Ooh.
And he still had 2 peel-offs, 2 Impel Down All-Stars. I could be wrong about that ratio, but it was at least 2 peel-offs.
Yeah.
4 Kayas still left in deck, by the way.
Because he hasn't used any.
He didn't use a single Kaya.
Wow, so he could have just drawn to them.
He could have just drawn.
Yes,
Yes, correct. He had 4 Kayas left in his deck.
Yeah.
So I'm like, this could be an issue. And there's still at least 1 or 2 Gavels left in the deck.
Yeah.
So that's already 8, 9 to 10 cards, let alone you bounce it back to hand and get more shenanigans going.
Yeah.
But the key there is swinging proper numbers and like making sure you know. So I wish I had my Nami deck actually to show, but we're not going over the Nami deck. But generally speaking, 1 Dawn, 2 Dawn, they don't run any more of the 3-drop event, the 6K.
The Impel, the whatever it's called, the one that draws you 2.
Deathwink. There we go.
Deathwink, yeah.
So no one really runs the Deathwink anymore. So you're watching out for 2 and 1. So 2 is always going to be a 4 cause or a 4K counter or a White Snake for a 1K counter, draw a card. And then the 1's always going to be a 4 with Gavel.
Or
2 with Death, Rubber Band of Doom. Rubber Band of Doom.
And then the Desert Spotter. Right?
And Spada, correct. Spada is actually scary because Blue's inherent ability to be able to scry their deck and like get a read on what their next cards are is what makes it like knowledge is key sometimes. Like knowing what you can play and knowing it 2 turns in advance is very helpful. But in most cases for Nami, you're using it to be like, okay, I'm going to trash these 2 with Gavel and I'm going to draw into this one. Yeah. And it just goes from there. But I won with him having only 13 or 12 cards left in deck. Just because I was able to get these off on curve,
gotcha,
and have more swings that are like need to be countered, for higher for more cards.
So were you swinging like 9s then, or were you just
there were times if I could, whenever I can afford it, I'll swing 9. But for the most part, I was swinging the magic numbers were 8, 8, 9, 11 with my leader. Gotcha. So I would always base up as best I could.
Yeah. So like the 2 will take out 2 events. Yeah. The 9 they'll have to either force 2 more. An event and a counter. And
exactly.
Then, I see.
And then I always kind of cycled through the idea of using babies. Yeah. To bring out this Luffy. Yep. So I can kill the Marguerites. And Kaya potentially if you had it. But there was a point in time I'm like, I gotta kill a grandma because he keeps using it. Yeah. So business usually gets Nami, but it's not an easy matchup, especially if you don't have like Ace. But I made sure to mulligan for this card. Yeah. And that's really what secured me the win.
Gotcha.
The next
quick caveat though, I did hear that there was a Nami player that had 43 cards in deck. Did you hear about that?
I don't like when people try to do things with Nami that it's already like people already frown on us.
No, like this guy was running 43 cards in the deck.
That's unfortunate.
Just do a shout out to the chat. Just do like a quick asterisk partner, I guess your opponent to
how many cards in deck?
Yeah,
always.
Yeah. But anyway,
I did ask that once during our game, but at that point I'm like, then I have to ask how many names are trash. You know, like it gets a little intricate. But I only went on a rant about 9 because I played it, so I kind of know it was a hard matchup, and I had to just swing for the proper numbers essentially. Yeah. My next round was my scariest for the time being, at least.
Why? Who was your opponent?
I played a Yamato.
Oh, Yamato. Oh, okay.
Yeah, and a lot of there was like 2 Yamatos that topped last week, to my knowledge. I forgot which tournament. And what ended up happening with the Yamato is usual Yamato shenanigans. Turn 1, nothing. Turn 2, 3 Dawn Leader, double attack. I'm like, I'm not giving you 2 counters for that.
Yeah.
So I take it, 2 life left. Next turn, I almost remember this game vividly because it was so
traumatizing.
Like almost traumatizing. Like, yeah, I was so close halfway through to scooping and be like, no, on to the next.
Yeah.
Turn after that, played a Kikunojo. So I'm like, do I kill it? Because I was actually able to have a Shigun. I had a Shigun in my hand.
Yeah.
And my thought process was, if I don't kill that, he has 2 attacks on me. One being a double attack, potential banish.
Yeah.
Because of Onami. So I killed it with finger pistol and healed him again.
Yeah.
So at that point he's up to 3. And then he did the thing I expected him to do.
Dropped an
Onami. And I didn't have any Sabo or anything, so I couldn't protect.
Uh-huh.
So I took the double attack banish.
Wow. Okay, so he banished you.
Yeah, so I was at 0 life. And unironically, here's the caveat of that matchup, which is why I was like, I wanted to scoop.
Yeah.
These were the only 2 5 costs I saw in my hand the whole game.
Oh, shit.
Literally, the 2 that saved me in a Nami match were the 2 that scarred me in this match.
Oh, no.
And I only had one of them at the time.
Yeah.
So by the time I got to the turn where he double attack banished me, I leader abilitied, and he was like, what? Because all I did was put 1 Luffy in my life from my hand.
Shit.
That was all I did.
Yeah.
But if I remember correctly, I had a Kuzan on board from the turn previous.
Yeah.
And he kept trying to kill it, because I kept swinging my leader and Kuzan. He tried to kill it the next turn, and I protected it 1-1.
Yeah.
Because he knew he definitely had to read that if I had more. He minimized the amount of swings I have on my board.
Yeah.
So by protecting the Kuzan, I potentially give myself an opportunity to find a lethal.
Yeah.
If you don't have board, you can't get lethal.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a given. And then the next turn, so the turn he's trying to swing at the Kuzan. So I had a lone Kuzan on board. And he keeps trying to swing at it. I counter, and I still have the 1 life buffer, by the way.
Yeah.
So then I'm like, okay, protect it. So he goes with Kikunojo into Momonosuke. So he heals the Kikunojo, goes back to 3 life, and has a blocker on board. So I think to myself, okay, I have 1 life, and he only has the Onami and the Momonosuke, because the Kikunojo's back in life. So my ass goes 10 drop Kuzan. Kill the Momonosuke.
He can't kill you then next turn.
Yeah, so now exactly. I mean, he can Hody.
Yeah,
that's a
I guess so.
Yeah, so, which actually he did. He ended up Hodying, so, if I'm not mistaken. So, that was his 9 Dawn. This is my 10 Dawn, obviously. Yeah. So, he Hodyed. He had 3 Dawn left, no other swingers. And he tried to go for me, which I was surprised about. But I think it's the same ruling applied, because even if he swung at here, I would try to protect it. Yeah. Because, like I said, I only saw these 2 5 costs, but everything else in my hand was potentially just 2K counters.
Gotcha. So you had the means of protecting me.
Exactly. Yeah. So I just get big body out, try to go for game with these. Yeah. He swung at me. I bottom decked this. No more 5 costs at all. Yeah. Period. I drew into another one later on, and that was kind of didn't really do anything for me. And then he had a Hody on the board, so I was in a weird spot. So all I knew is I don't win if I don't try to like chip down his life. Yeah. And since he took his life with the Hody, he had 2 life left.
Oh, so he can't keep Kikunojo off trigger.
Correct. Yeah. And that wouldn't have mattered anyway because it's dead card on the board. And he had 2 life left. I gave a 2K counter check. Always check for 2K counters because that deck runs Izo. It runs. What other 2Ks does that run? I guess Satori is another concept, but I mean it varies on what build you're running. So then I checked, you had like 2 or 3 2K counters. So I'm like, I have to do the ladder math. So what I ended up doing, knowing my ass, I'm like, I can't go for game. So I have these 3 swings. My leader, Kuzan, and Kuzan. I went 9, 10, 11, and it went through. So to my knowledge, he didn't have the 9. He couldn't counter out of that. The 10, from this, he was able to get 1K counter. Okay. Yeah. Then he had 10 in hand. Yeah. Swing 10, not enough because he only has 10. Yeah. Gets 1 more game counter. Swing 11. Wow. And he has exactly 11 in hand. Not enough to counter.
He needed a 2K out of life.
He needed exactly a 2K out of life. Yeah. And I don't know how, but like, do your math when you're swinging, guys. Yeah, yeah. Because the other line of play was 10, 10, 10. And that is not it. That is not it.
Yeah.
Because then you would have
you had to take the risk.
Yeah, the risk is sometimes needed, and it's either risk it or lose.
Yeah.
And if you don't take the risk, you lose anyway.
So you might as well.
Exactly. But that was my craziest comeback in terms of the whole tournament.
Yeah.
Because it's just like, to be able to get a game, like, I did not do BY Luffy things.
Yeah.
I just went 9, 10, 11.
Uh-huh.
And I was just like shocked that it went through. It was kind of like, I guess, like Jackson when he went 5-6 during his final in that. Funny story about Jackson. We'll get to that. But then, yeah, I snuck out of that. So round 5, Yamato.
So you're 5-0 at this point, right?
Yeah, 5-0 at this point. I was like, okay, like, just play your best. Like, don't think about, like, you're undefeated right now. And then my friend, Sion, in our group, he goes, Manny on top, or E-Man on top. And I'm like, stop. Let me play. He posted it in our Discord. Then following that, I look at the name in my app. It says Jonas. It was like, Jonas. Cool. That sounds familiar. Sit down, table 6. Or it was like table 3 or something with a BY mirror. And I hear the voice. I'm like, oh, that Jonas. First Nats winner Jonas. And I'm like, okay, cool. He's a really nice guy, by the way. Like, we were messaging after because I considered getting coaching from him. I really like that he is methodical with his plays and he has a lot of good rationale. And, we were joking around most of the game. Like, we knew what to expect. Yeah. We pretty much played 1 for 1. And a lot of our board states were exactly the same. Like, playoff Fist Luffy. Yeah. So when it came down to it, it was our usual, play 5-drop Luffy, do your awakening stuff. Where I made the mistake is when I ran out of, because we actually both played out, we were both able to play out 2 Morias each. So instead of trying to play the resource game, which I did, I would keep playing this Luffy with the Sabo. Yeah. The thing he taught me at the end of the game is if you don't have another Moria to follow up, which 2 is usually enough. Yeah. But you need more swings, especially in the mirror, because your opponent's going to always base up to 9. Yeah. Just play out this instead of this.
Oh, so you can get that.
You have taller
extra,
swings. And in worst case, you just use the babies to start doing more things and still basing up.
Oh,
smart. So this is actually, he played 2 of these out and had 2 Morias. Yeah. I only had Sabo, and 2 Geckos. Oh, so he kept swinging for numbers that I couldn't safely block all the time, and eventually I just ran out of more resources.
Yeah, because he was demanding more cards from me.
He always demanded more cards because by the time he had the 2 Morias, he had 2 of this Luffy out, so he could do. So if you go to the play line aspect number wise with the Dawn, so he has a 9. I guess let's look at the board. I love doing these kind of puzzles actually. Yeah. So you had the 2 Morias, Luffy, and another Luffy. Yeah. So it's always demanding at least 1 card or block. So it's 9-9, and then you give this 1-1. You go 9-9. Yeah. And then you still have 2 for leader, 4 for awakening. So essentially you could have won 11, 9, 9, 9, 9, 11, 11. Yeah. And still awakened with the 6 Dawn left. Yeah. So that's what he did, and I couldn't keep up. Okay. So finally, first loss, Jonas. He but he gave me some tips in that regard. Like, if you don't have another Mori, play this instead. Yeah. Get that bigger attacker, especially in the mirror. And it came in handy with my next few matches, honestly. I lost that.
Growing throughout the tournament.
Yeah, I had to. Or else, 10 rounds is no joke, and I'm sure anyone has done it. It's tiring. I woke up and just did my. You wake up and you're like, all right, I'm going to be sitting on my ass for how many hours? Yeah. After that, I went into round 7. I played a Kalgara. I did not expect that one because previous to my other games, similar to my other games, Nami, Yamato, and Carrot, I've played those decks and I enjoy those decks. So it gave me some insight on the
weaknesses of it.
What can I do against it? Or what can they do against me, vice versa. But the Kalgara, man, threw me off hard when turn 1 upper yard, he searched. Turn 2, 3 Dawn, he went first. He won the dice roll. He played very aggressively. I couldn't keep up. and he. Oh no! Just to kind of go back a little bit, I mulliganed because I didn't have an ideal opening hand, and my opening hand after the mulligan was even worse.
Oh no!
I had 3 4-drop Kuzans in my hand.
Yeah.
And if you know the BY deck, that doesn't do anything.
Yeah.
When they're just swinging at you
with
every turn for like 5, 6, 7. So the part of the game where I kind of felt already shot is the fact that my hand had 3 bricks in hand, and I couldn't even. I played on curve, but then when my KOing, it's not really doing much to value on my board. And he played turn 2, 3 Dawn, swing 6 with leader. I think it was 6 or maybe 8 even. Play Genbo, which is, if you don't know what that is, it's a 3/5 vanilla from Sky Island.
Oh.
I think it's Genbo. I forgot his name exactly, but it's a 3/5 vanilla. And I was like, what the hell?
Yeah.
Like, there's already a board, and I didn't expect it till turn 4.
Yeah.
Or turn 3. So that happened, and then he played the Wiper on turn 3 with leader ability. So swing, Wiper.
Oh.
And he kept searching with upper yard, so he got Kalgara during one of the searches. Then he did the part that everyone hates against that deck, which is a high roll for them usually. He played swing with leader, cheat out Kalgara, play Noland.
Yep.
And after that, during one of those turns, I think he played Holly also.
Oh, jeez.
Whiffed on the search, but still had it. They always have the Holy in hand.
Yeah.
And I was just like, it's a wrap. I just lost that. Like, I got demolished that game.
Oh.
So ideally, in that matchup, you want to try to base up when you can, but having 3 Kuzans does not help.
Yeah.
It helped in my other matches, but not that one. And I just accepted it, and I even asked him about it, because, like, it was my first time really performing well in the later rounds.
Yeah.
I usually, my previous runs, I've kind of crapped out in the beginning, and then had to, like, crawl my way back up into higher placings. And then I just took it, and I asked him, like, because he mentioned he's like top before. He's like, yeah, you got to win out your next 3. And I'm like, okay, I'll try my best. Lo and behold, to get into the nitty gritty of it, I played 3 more BY mirrors. So around 8, 9, 10. I played all BY Luffy.
Yeah.
I took exactly what Jonas told me in round 6, and I applied it to those. Where I'm like, okay, your usual shenanigans come in. And lo and behold, it pulled through. Not to go over too much, just because I can go on a rant about those matches. They were pretty standard, but I took that advice, and I just kept 5-cost Fist Luffy out when I could, if I needed to, just to have taller swings. And I was able to win out round 8 and 9. I'm like, all right, kind of shaking, because it's my first time like having an opportunity to top 32, let alone get my invite to nationals.
Yeah.
I look at my opponent for round 10. And I freak out just a little bit.
Why? Who was your opponent?
So Clyde on TCG on the Bandai app, it's Clyde. But if you guys know him, it's Jackson Wong from the Last Nats, who won the Last Nats with BY Luffy.
So you went against 2 national winners, back to back,
in the same
not back to back,
in the same tournament.
Yeah.
And we had a little chat in the beginning. I was like, oh yeah, I know you, of course. Like, lo and behold,
he's from Jersey too, right?
Jackson's from Jersey. Yeah, we talked about that.
A lot of strong players, Jersey.
And shout out to him for we had a little conversation about. So I work in physical therapy, and ironically, I was just like, let's ease the tension. So I asked him, I'm like, oh yeah, I'm a PT. He goes, oh yeah, like I had a lot of long trips during my trip to Worlds and stuff, so my back started hurting. I'm like, long story short, we talked about PT for a little bit before. It helped me ease into the match. Yeah, because nerves kick in when you play one of the best players in One Piece right now.
Yeah, in the world, yeah.
One of the stronger players, and like he said, we joked about it. He's like, oh wait, you know my deck. Like most people do. Yeah. Funny enough, it kind of came into play during the match because he plays the ace. Yeah. I think the one-ofs, right? Yeah. And then we go pretty standard match overall. I think where, just to kind of go into like the general guidelines where like it was different, was turn 1 he played Garb, and then he got the 5-cost ace rush. Okay. So I'm like, okay, there's a potential for him to try to sneak out cards from my hand or go for a random lethal that I didn't expect. Yeah. And then I played double Garb on my turn going second, so I was able to take the second curve from him, and I whiffed the first Garb. So I was already kind of like, oh shoot. Yeah. Second Garb, I was able to grab a Sabo, the baby Sabo that I needed because I already had big Sabo and big Luffy in hand. Yeah. We go on as usual, and there was a point of the game where I had 2 life, he had 2 life, and he had a Kuzan on board. I had nothing on board at the time. I thought about playing out like a 5-cost Luffy Fist, which I wish I had. I didn't actually have it, if I remember correctly, because we talked about it after at the end of the game. But I played Sabo instead, because if you know the situation there and knowing his hand, he had 2 attacks and
Plus
1
an
rush
ace.
and a ace in hand. He's like, oh, I remember jokingly, he goes, oh, this is why it's hard for people to know your decks. I'm like, no, man, you searched it turn 1.
Yeah,
I saw you grab it.
Yeah.
But that was kind of tricky, because like if I didn't play that, I was giving him cards from hand.
Yeah, he was
easily.
taking a bunch.
At least 2.
He might have been able to cheat it out too with like a.
Oh, exactly.
Yeah,
if he was able to cheat, even worse.
Yeah.
With like a Hiyori.
Yeah.
So then I'm like, okay, let me just play it safe, get more pieces that I need. What ended up happening by the end of the game, or midway through the game, when I got the first Mori out, he didn't actually have a Sabo until maybe turn 5 or 6. So I was able to get some cards out of his hand. He did have a pretty healthy hand, because there were turns, we talked about it after, where I didn't swing into him when I should have, because he was able to double Flampe to awaken, and that's plus 2 cards in hand from his deck. So he had a pretty healthy hand. His hand was bigger than mine, for sure. But having 2 Morias that come out first solidified my swings. Like, I had more swings than him.
Because you got it out earlier, you're slowly chipping his hand down at that point.
And lo and behold, just to kind of wrap it up, it was like a difference between him not seeing a Sabo right before I got one of my big bodies already established.
Yeah.
So a lot of times there was 2 moments where he just based a 7, and I was able to get like 2 cards out of his hand, or just free block, the usual. And I was able to wrap it up with 2 Morias and my leader, things that would in his hand just kind of went down one by one.
Oh man!
He didn't get to recycle as many times as I did already at that point. So it was just like, I wish I could kind of recap it all, but Black Yellow Luffy, like, it just comes down to who plays the more neutral, like, mid game, and then who has the better end game potential.
Yeah, I feel like it takes a lot of micro decisions too in the beginning.
Yes, you can
that really lead up to the stronger end game.
Yeah, I think that in that matchup, if I messed up at any point, he could capitalize on it.
Yeah,
like, you could smell fear. Like,
yeah.
And lo and behold, like I said earlier, the round 6 with Jonas really solidified that there was one more thing I was missing in the mirror matchup, and it came in clutch in the next 3, because I played 3 more mirrors after that. I was thankful, because at that point, X2, I'm like, okay, like, high placing. But one of my losses, my breakers being Jonas. Jonas won. Yeah. He won the tournament.
Yeah.
So it boosted me up to 14, which, I was really thankful for, because like I said earlier, my goal was 8-2. And now with Jonas, like, having done really well, I guess his first regional win to my knowledge. And I mean, he's done Nats, but this is his first time winning, like, winning a regional. Yeah. So I congratulated him, and then I thanked him also for giving me some tips in the mirror. It was a pseudo, like, maybe I owe him money, like, coaching session during. No, but he was really cool about it. Like, I really appreciate the experience I went through, because, like, there were a lot of lines I play that I could have messed up. And I could have swung the wrong way. I could have. But the thing that me and my friends always talk about within our group is we out here trying to just play our best. And it paid off this time around.
No, it really did, dude. So 14th, and that matchup spread, and
the matchup spread was fun and scary at the same time,
and just your opponents in general too. 2 of them being national champions is wow. That's a really big accomplishment.
Yeah, the key there is, like, don't treat your opponents like they're like it's this person, and which is what usually ended up in my mind. But I made sure to catch myself and think to myself, okay, like, we're just playing one piece.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter who that is. I have this deck, you have that deck. What's the play here?
Yeah.
But yeah, just try not to mess up, because mess ups in this deck can screw you over hard.
Well, anyway, congrats, E-Man. Very well deserved. You really put in the time, effort, and really just, like, piloted it super well. And so, super proud of you. Any other closing thoughts?
Shout out to ADAKAI, waiting for him to play One Piece again.
Also, guys, I've been on the Union Arena grind for no reason.
I've been representing ADAKAI TCG.
I was so like, when I saw that, I was like, dang.
I always
even
do.
during the regionals.
During regionals, yeah.
That's crazy.
Because when people ask, I give it an opportunity to plug, but I don't try to force it either.
Yeah.
Also, of course, like the homies over at Dragon Eye and wherever else we play in New Jersey, because everyone in 5 to Lead has helped me throughout this to just practice. And we always practice, but like this time around, I was very adamant about making sure I did the right kind of practice and not just grind.
Yeah, and it was so cool because we were just talking about that before. What was that? A couple months ago, right? We were just like, we just gotta like grind the matchup and like learn it one by one, and you really just like showed like how effective that can be.
Yeah, and play slow, rationalize, and I learned that from I don't know if anyone knows from the Singapore area, like Fabian Chalice. He used to be Team Food Kings. Yeah, and he something he mentioned to me was just play slower and rationalize every decision you make. I feel like a lot of the Easterners do that. Like, you know, you really have to make sure the line you play is not just because it's the optimal line or it's the best line. It's the one that works for that situation.
For the situation, yeah.
Yeah, and I think I learned throughout the tournament, which is what helped me perform throughout. And now, you know, the next meta coming in with Nats being a thing in January, I don't even know what I'm going to play because I've been trying out Dofi. Everyone knows Dofi's a thing. Yeah. But Purple Luffy's fun to me.
That was my next question, actually. What are you going to plan?
Oh, yeah, dude.
Playing 8.5.
I mean, maybe it's still. For all I know. Because
seems to be doing well still, actually.
It still performs. Blackbeard is a pretty bad matchup. I'll tell you that much. Because you never get to safely play out your Moria turn.
Yeah.
But in that regard, you also start to play more Ace again. So it'd be nice to start to get that Rush again. Rush is great. I mean, everyone that's played Red knows Rush is scary. And I think Purple Luffy will be like kind of like a strong contender for me. Yeah. Just because I like the tempo, and I've always kind of geared towards purple overall. Yeah. I like the color purple, so I picked purple as my first color when I started playing this game.
Magellan.
Kaido, Magellan. Reiju I played, and now, you know, we'll go through testing and see which one feels most comfortable to me. Yeah. Because even this, like, most people don't want to pick this deck up because of the amount of, like, you have to put in time with this deck. Purple Luffy is a little more straightforward, but sometimes you lose to your draws. But it'll get a little more consistent in 09 with RP Law Searcher, yep. And the 1-drop 4K event that lets you draw a card. It's like a queen. Like, kind of crazy. More card value with that deck. Yeah. But then blue, we can go over every match. It's you start to look into different ways that no one deck is like the best. It's like what beats what. Yeah. Like Blackbeard is a sleeper, ironically, but it's not, to me, it's not a good deck. Yeah. Consistency wise.
I think so too.
But it still has its matchups where you're like, if you're playing Blackbeard and they're playing that, oh shoot.
Yeah.
Good luck. Good luck.
It does landslide some matchups. But yeah.
I mean, Shanks is a great contender. I
love Shanks.
Shanks as a whole. Whether or not I like playing it comes down to testing. But it's kind of interesting because 09 comes out like 2 or 3 weeks before Nats. So people kind of have to test now. Yeah. In 09 to just prepare for Nats or LCQ. Like we have a few friends going to LCQ, doing LCQ. Yeah. So 09 is kind of like where the testing ground is at the moment.
Guess we got to get some proxies, right?
Yeah, time to print some proxies. Yeah. But you know, that's for the future, and like one week at a time. And I don't think for me it came down to playing a lot. It was just playing, like he said, like we go to locals, but I would go just practice. Yeah. And the next day I would relax, play pickleball or something. Yeah. Anyone plays out there.
Being like very intentional about your playtime.
Yeah. Don't just play just because like. And I used to think you just. Oh, let's do like 20 games today. Yeah. And I'm like, did that help? Maybe. I found my play lines, but I didn't prepare like different scenarios and how to play things differently. Or like Alex, I like Alex's phrase about it. He talked about it during our online playtesting one time. Yeah. And he goes, I like to what is it?
Stress test?
Stress test. Yeah. You're like, does this work? Oh, it didn't work. Okay, let's not do that again.
Yeah. If you guys know me, I'm the king of stress testing. Like, pushing a deck to its limit to see what you can get away with.
Oh, I've been doing that a lot with Purple Luffy. I'll be at 2 life. I think you saw this yesterday.
Yeah, that was beautiful yesterday.
I'll be at 2 life, and I'm like, leader ability? Play Kaido? I have 1 life, 1 blocker. All right, this works. But I have a 9-10 beater out on board. Yeah. Best case when you have the Luffy out, the new Rush Luffy.
Yeah. You don't have to go down and dawn.
-5 hurts actually in that deck.
It does.
But yeah, that's where I'm at right now.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for taking your time to give this interview. Appreciate you, brother, and congrats again.
Thank you, Alex, for having me. Bye bye.